If you've ever reported to a toxic leader, you know the frustration and damage that that person can cause. Once that leader has targeted you, nothing you do is right. Even if you were a high-performing employee with amazing superpowers for solving problems, for a toxic leader, that often makes you their primary target. Hi, I'm Lisa, founder and owner of Leadership Reno. That scenario I just described was me. Back when I reported to a toxic leader. That experience is what compelled me to create my company, Leadership Reno. If you're watching this video, I'm going to assume that you either reported to a toxic leader in the past, or you report to one now. Toxic leaders are disruptive to the workplace and are one of the key contributors to the Great Resignation. They're the adult version of bullies on the playground, and they don't belong in people leader roles. As a target of a toxic leader, I want you to know that you are not alone. There is an army of people and resources available to help you mitigate the situation. Here at Leadership Reno, we're calling this movement leadership reform. Our goal is to renovate the requirements, definition and metrics used for evaluating people leaders to ensure that the right people are selected for these roles. In this introductory module of the Leadership Reno Masterclass series, we will define what a toxic workplace and leader are and discuss the damage they have on the workforce. Discuss whether or not bullying is legal in the workplace. And lastly, we'll identify why toxic leaders are so prevalent in today's society. Welcome to the conference room here at Leadership Reno. As you can see, I've brought along a few friends of mine who have expertise in the area of leadership, bullying and executive coaching. I call them my Leadership Reform Squad. I met each of these folks while on my journey to research options to help people who are in a toxic work environment, and we've come together to help bring awareness to this cause. To my right is my friend Terry McDougall. Terry is an executive coach, author and host of the Winning the Game of Work podcast. On the big screen there is Deb Falzoy. Deb is the founder and owner of Dignity Together, a company that offers countless tools and resources to help heal targets of bullying. Deb has also dedicated years of her life to pushing for legislation to protect people from bullying in the workplace. Next to Deb at the conference table is Dr. Tomas. Dr. Tomas is a psychologist, author, and entrepreneur. He's also a leading expert on leadership assessment and people analytics. Lastly, we have Kalyani Pardeshi. Kalyani is an anti-bullying specialist, multiple award-winning author of the book Unbullied, and certified quantum human design specialist. These amazing people are just a few of the team of experts that I've assembled to help provide you with the knowledge, resources, and tools to help fight back against bullying in the workplace. So, let's get back to our agenda, starting with defining what is a toxic workplace. Terry, I think you have a good definition of this.
Thanks, Lisa. I like to quote from the book, Mental Illness in the Workplace, by Hardner, Rash, and Wagner. They define a toxic workplace as an environment that negatively impacts the viability of an organization. They also specify it is reasonable to conclude that an organization can be considered toxic if it is ineffective, as well as destructive to its employees.
That makes sense, especially when it comes to the impact to its employees. So, how does bullying come into play here, Kalyani?
Bullying is the persistent pattern of seeking to harm, intimidate, or coerce someone whom the bully sees as vulnerable in some way. The result of this kind of trauma, according to Karen Curry Parker, who is the founder of the Quantum Alignment System, is the target feeling unloved and unaccepted.
Okay. So, we know what a toxic work environment is. And bullying sounds like another form of harassment. However, bullying isn't currently illegal. Is it, Deb?
No, currently in the United States, the only bullying or harassment that is considered illegal and protected by law are for those classes specifically mentioned in our anti-discrimination laws, which refer to race, gender, disability, and age, for example. Otherwise, you have no legal case for the general mental harassment and sabotage that is typical from workplace bullies and toxic leaders.
So, basically, people can say anything they want to or about you, so long as it is not referencing a protected class status.
Unfortunately, that's the gist of it. Of course, you can't threaten to assault or physically harm anyone. However, there is no law currently in place protecting you from anyone spreading vicious untruths or rumors about you or your work. There are 4 general categories that describe bullying in the workplace. Those are cyberbullying, social exclusion, verbal abuse, and sabotage. Let's start with cyberbullying. Cyberbullying is online bullying and often takes place via social media or group chats. Because this information is traceable, a workplace bully might create a fake profile or username to avoid detection. Next is social exclusion. This form of bullying in the workplace is an attempt to create an us versus them mentality. This includes the bully talking about you behind your back and making up stories or placing blame on the target in an effort to isolate them from the team. The third common form of workplace bullying is verbal abuse. This is exactly what it sounds like and involves name-calling and insults, but can also include demeaning the employee's skills or work and disguising it as constructive criticism. The last general category of workplace bullying is sabotage. This one is often the most damaging in my opinion because it's calculating and manipulative. Unfortunately, it's often used by managers and supervisors in a conscious effort to make the employee miserable and force them to quit. It can take the shape of any number of actions, from not providing the employee with proper direction, to withholding information from the employee that they need to perform their job, to imposing unrealistic deadlines and workloads. Gaslighting is a common form of sabotage used to make the employee even question their own reality. The bully will create a false narrative about the employee and share it with a group or their own manager. This is especially distressing to the employee because the manager has seniority and usually creates the false narrative before the employee knows anything about it. So, by the time the employee realizes what is happening, they typically have no recourse at that point and are just doing everything in their power to survive.
That's just so evil. I don't understand how people like that ever make it into positions of power. Much less, how they become people managers.
It happens all the time. It happened to me as well. But your question brings us to the third discussion topic for today. We've already discussed what bullying is and whether or not it's illegal. But I know Dr. Tomas has done extensive research and has even written a book and done numerous speeches on this next phenomenon, which is, why do so many toxic leaders exist?
Thanks, Lisa. It is disturbing because it's no secret that bad leadership is the #1 cause for voluntary turnover across the globe, which also means it's the #1 thing that companies can control when considering leadership reform.
Exactly. And I know, in your book, Why Do So Many Incompetent Men Become Leaders and How to Fix It, you specifically call attention to the fact that while the human population is 50% male and 50% female, that same ratio doesn't apply at all to women in leadership roles, where the largest majority is at the lowest level of leadership roles at 36%. Why is that?
You'll have to read my book for the full answer. However, the short answer is that people equate behaviors predominantly exhibited by men as the traits of a good leader. Things like charisma, overconfidence, assertiveness, and ambition are revered in men. However, these same traits are viewed negatively when exhibited by women. Evidence shows that women are more harshly judged for their mistakes and their behavior scrutinized more carefully.
So, that explains why there are so many toxic leaders in the workplace. We'll have to continue the conversation in our next video to better flesh out the traits that we should be looking for in people leaders. Because the foundation of the leadership reform mission is to redefine the traits that we should be looking for when we select and hire people leaders, reestablish the expectations of people leaders, and redefine the metrics used to evaluate people leaders. And that concludes this free introductory video to the Leadership Reno Masterclass series. I hope we've answered some of your basic questions about the leadership reform mission, workplace bullying, and toxic leaders. Please be sure to visit my website at www.leadershipreno.com. Then click the Tools of the Trade menu option to be taken to the page where these courses reside. You've already completed this first module in the series. We'll be adding more courses to the series to cover topics such as, where can I get help if I'm being bullied at work, and how can I champion leadership reform at my workplace? Getting more people to champion the leadership reform mission is the only way we'll be able to make this change globally, so that every people leader out there is the type of leader who inspires the best in their employees. Thanks again for watching.